Good morning. It's good to see our guests. I have a few other people that are still loading, it looks like. Um, but we want to welcome you to this week's Grow, where we gather to recharge, organize, and work here as members of MWAG. We are glad to have a guest here with us today from the Grand Bargain Project, Saul Erdman, who's the founder. And he founded the Center for Collaborative Democracy to develop innovative tools for reaching constructive agreements on long festering political controversies. Erdman's experience on resolving ideological conflict emerged at midlife when he attended the program on that negotiation at Harvard Law School and did cutting edge research with two of the program founders. Saul's articles on how to bridge seemingly irreconcilable differences have appeared in Barron's, if you're familiar with that publication, the Boston Globe, Chicago Tribune, the National Civic Review, State Government News, Roll Call, and Los Angeles Times. His first career was at Oppenheimer and Company, a New York investment firm, where he rose to senior vice president and head of operations arbitrage. So he has a bachelor's in theoretical mathematics from Cornell and an MBA from Harvard. So we're really, really happy to have him with us to speak on the Grand Bargain Project. I'm going to turn the time over to him to explain about this organization and the collaborations that they're doing. And I will share some links. But if Saul wants to share his screen and tell us a little bit more, so welcome.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks so much. And thanks for that introduction. I always like to feel obligated to tell any audience I'm meeting for the first time sort of the truth about me, which is I got into the democracy space and on the pathway to improving democracy, going in the wrong direction. I was out initially for myself. That's somehow the way I was born. And my primary objective was independence. Independence to do whatever I wanted. What I didn't know at the time pursuing independence, I didn't know what I wanted to do after I had it. In any event, I went to Wall Street, there to make enough money to be free to do whatever I wanted. I was good at the job I had as a trader of options. And then now I had my independence. I was lost. I went looking for something and I didn't know what it was. I tried various things and I was a dilettante. I didn't have the seriousness of purpose I've had as a trader or anything previously. Ultimately, life caught up with me. I had multiple ordinary crises, bad relationships, bad problem with the IRS, class action suit, and I almost snapped. I needed a purpose. And thank God, something said to me, become a peacemaker. And that's why I went to the program on negotiation at Harvard Law School. And I started to find it was almost a miracle to me, a revelation that any conflict, that's what I learned at this program, any conflict is an opportunity for all sides to gain. And they taught methodology. It wasn't just a philosophy. The founders of the program were practitioners. They were not just academics, they were practitioners. And early on, like 6 weeks into the program, the brashness, if you will, that I still had from Wall Street kicked in, combined with this mission of trying to make peace. And I said, oh, I see how the work of one of these founders can be used to fix Congress. Took me a year to get to him. And he said, okay, let's work together. He and I would write a book eventually about how to fix Congress. It was published in 2008. The unfortunate thing is Congress does not want to be fixed. The members of Congress are perfectly happy with the way things are. It works for them. It doesn't work for any of us, but it works for them. So with that revelation, again, sort of being in a bit of despair, having worked so many years on this book, what can I do? What can I do with what I've learned? And so I came up with the even more insane ambition. Now, I can't fix Congress. Can we fix America? By sidelining Congress. And that's what the Grand Bargain Project is. The Grand Bargain Project is an attempt to bring the American people together. At least 80% of them, however old they are, however young they are, wherever they are in the country, whatever they are ideologically, wherever they are economically, bring them all together and around a vision of America's future to which all will say, we want to follow that vision. And here's where we believe we're getting there. The Grand Bargain specifically is designed to create a practical plan for advancing 6 objectives that virtually every American shares. And I will, if I can find them, I will put them on the screen. Here we go. So these are the 6 objectives. It turns out 96% of Americans see one or more of these goals. By the way, this is available on our website. It's readily available. So if you want to take notes, sure, but know that it's available. 96% of Americans see one or more of these, we call them aspirations. One or more of these aspirations is critical to their own lives. And for every line here, at least 50% of Americans say that is critical to their own lives. So that's what the Grand Bargain is. Practical plan to advance all 6 of these objectives simultaneously and advance them further than they have been in decades. See someone writing, I'll wait till she finishes writing them down, and then I'll take the screen, I'll put the slide off. But once again, this will be available. This information is available. So I'll take the screen down so I can see you all. This is what I need to do. Rosemary, I promise you can have this information. And I appreciate that you're taking it so seriously. I'm not trying to single you out for any other reason than I appreciate your interest. So how can we possibly move all 6 objectives simultaneously? Well, it turns out that every law in the books for these 6 issues, every law in the books, whichever party was in control, the law was designed to benefit some voters, some interest groups, and a bare majority of lawmakers, from the dominant party. So they had very limited functionality to start with. But now you have law after law after law after law piled on one another with these limited objectives. They have very little in common. They contradict each other. They have an aggregate, cost trillions of dollars, and they have been so inadequate to the task that 70+% of the American people believe that the political system is designed to benefit powerful interests at their expense. They believe Congress is there to benefit everyone else but them, basically. They're not wrong. So what's the solution? We simply distilled ideas from lots of sources, from former policymakers in this area, not elected officials. Former policymakers in this area who were serious policymakers and were not elected to office. From stakeholders in these 6 areas. From activists in these 6 areas. From ordinary citizens. And we distilled ideas for them into 36 specific recommendations, 36. Each is not much longer than a sentence. In fact, most of them are 1 sentence long. And they're written so that anyone who's concerned about these issues can understand these sentences. None of them are breakthrough complex ideas. They're ideas that have been around for a long time, at least almost a decade. And everyone who looked at them, we asked them, look at all 36 items. Specifically focus on the ones you really like and the ones you really can't stand. And looking at what you really like and see is critical to you and what you really can't stand. Would you prefer this total package, including its liabilities, but especially including its benefits, or the current direction? And I, having presented this to a whole bunch of people, have been stunned by the results. So far, 90+% of people have said, yes, this is a better direction for me, my family, and the country than where we're now going. So we see this as a unique uniting function. And before going any further, before describing how we plan to use it and how we're going to get it out into the world, I want to invite any questions to the concept, what I've just described. I welcome questions. I always tell everyone I love a hot bench. And by a hot bench, I mean people who are really interested and say, okay, but this sounds so easy, so simple. It can't be that simple. You missed this, you missed this. I welcome your unvarnished questions and doubts, because I become smarter by you telling me what you don't see, what I haven't conveyed. Please, anyone. I can keep going, there's more to tell. I can't hear you, Rich.
I don't see any questions.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, so first I want to tell you how we propose to get this out into the world. Number one, we are going to hold workshops in every congressional district in the country. And which we will present the concept of the grand bargain, which I just explained to you, and we will we will give them in what we call an app, all 36 lines of the grand bargain. And we will ask to rate all 36 lines. Remember, each is only one sentence long. They're not very long. And we tell them, if you don't have a strong feeling about it, you don't care, click not sure. Just focus on those that you really feel, oh, this is important to me, or this is really, I don't like this. Focus on the one that are really important to you, and focus on those who really don't like it. We'll hope they will do that in about 10 minutes. And I'll show you this app in a few minutes. And we'll say then, okay, having seen all of them, what's your net judgment? If you had to choose between this grand bargain, the 6-issue grand bargain, or where the country's now going, which would you choose? We hope, literally, we hope some will say no. Experiences, the vast majority will say yes, because we then want to have a deliberation within the group there. What would the naysayer or the person who would rather go the current direction, what changes would they like to see that would bring them in? So we are not saying these 36 lines are a united function. We say we want your feedback, American people. We need your feedback because our ambition is to unite you. We're not committed to these 36 lines. We're committed to whatever combination of reforms will make the maximum number of Americans say, yes, I want to follow that road. I want to follow that vision. But so that's the workshops are one element of our plan. The second element is we literally want the app to go viral. We literally want to get the app in the hands of every American who wants to join with other Americans in a common purpose, who wants to advance his or her own life, who wants to unite America, who wants to alert our leaders, this is the roadmap we want to follow, so we can hold you to account. And the third is we're going directly to Capitol Hill now, selectively, to senators and members of Congress who know the country is in bad shape and know we need a common purpose. We need a vision to go forward. And so that is just beginning. And there's nothing to discuss because I have met with staff members of several senators who are in a position to make a difference, and they're receptive, but we want to be very cautious. Okay, if there are not any questions now, I see something in the chat, or was that you, Rebecca? Did you put connection to our website? Take a look. Okay, so I want to put the app on screen. Give me a second. Hey, it's not being cooperative, but that's all right. Fix those. Oh, there it is. Right. All right, so there is an introduction that basically describes what I just described to you, what the purpose of the grand bargain is. And here are the instructions, and I won't inflict the instructions on, I'll explain. So basically, in each of these 6 categories are the line items. So here are the line items for economic mobility and growth. And I'll go through more slowly, but I'm going to give you a feel for the app first. We describe the overall problem and the overall proposal. In other words, a summary of all the individual lines. And a user can do one of 2 things, and that's the instructions up here. You can click the overall proposal. You can put it in any one of these buckets, we call them. Critical to me and others, good idea. Oops, I didn't mean to click it, so let me unclick it. There we go. You can put it yeah. Oops, what did I do?
So Saul, I have a question about the app. So as people go through and answer these questions, what what will you do with the data after you have enough people answering and clicking through? Is this to gather the data to see what's most important to people so that you can go with the most, like the top issues that you're seeing people respond to?
The answer is yes. The most important thing is after you go through all of them, and you can literally go through all of them in 3 minutes if you want to, because so take economic mobility and growth. There are 7 line items, and they're described in basically 2 sentences at the top overall proposal. And you can say, yep, I buy it. Or you can look at I buy the whole package. You end up at the end, you have 5 buckets, and you can look, what did you feel strongly is good? What did you like? What did you care about? What did you dislike? And what did you hate? Literally, we invite people to say, I hate it. We want people for themselves to feel, oh my God, look at the things that could happen if I can accept this. We want to make people aware of opportunities to advance and improve their own lives if they can accept giving others what they want. So the app is in it to itself a negotiation with one person with the rest of the American people. Because every line in there is wanted by some group, is critical to some group. So they're having to make an evaluation to get these things that are crucial to me in education and healthcare and energy. Can I accept other people's needs in other areas? So that's the first thing, is they negotiate with themselves, because it's an app. We're not there to hold their hands or to instruct them. Like I said, up to now, 90% of people have said, yes, this is a better direction. That's the main point, because what we say to them, if 90% of the American people say we want this, I commit personally, I will give my life to make sure it happens. Because it becomes an inexorable force. If 75% of the American people tell their congresspeople and senators, you need to do this. This is your job. Your job is to improve our lives in these 6 areas. And 75% of us agree, 75% or more in your state, in your district, and you're not going to do it? For what reason? This is the ultimate instrument of accountability. So yes, we need individual feedback on the individual lines. Most of all, we want feedback on the totality of the package. We want to be able to tell everybody in Washington, 75, 80, 85% of the American people say, yes, this is the roadmap we want. And your reason for not doing it is what? That's our goal. So I do want to stop. I don't know what the glitch in the app is. I can fix that easily. We can go through it again. If you want, anyone wants to see the line items, we cannot, the 36 line items are on our website. The app is not on the website yet, but the 36 lines are on a website in the form of what's called a framework agreement. If you go to our website at the top, among the tabs at the top is framework agreement. Just click it. 36 lines are there. So you can see them for yourself. Thank you. Once again, questions, please.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask you to explain to Rachel's question about what happens to the data. So
Okay.
the data is anonymous, but go ahead, please.
Yeah. So the data is giving us feedback. In other words, how can we, with the data, how people are responding to individual lines, how can our job is always to improve the framework. Well, we call it the framework. It's really not, we don't call it the framework anymore. It's the basic grand bargain. It's for us to improve it. So we'll draw more public support. Now, we do have what I'll call limitations. So for example, in the 36 lines, I can tell in advance, I can tell you which 2 lines will draw the most hates. I know them in advance because they have always been hates. But the trouble is they're essential to reining in the national debt. That is the ultimate grand bargain. If you want all advantages in these 6 areas, there has to be we have to allocate resources wisely, cost effectively. And so, like I said, I can tell up front exactly which 2 lines are going to be the most hated. So that's not dispositive information. But in terms of other lines, or even those, we will try and modify them so that they still will advance the 6 objectives as far as possible and bring as much of the American people together. So there are 2 criteria for the 36 lines. They must, in the eyes of neutral, non-ideological observers, that's not us, that's our advisors, our economists who are advising us, these former policymakers who were not elected officials. They will be the ultimate saying, yep, this would advance all 6 objectives. So it has to do that and maximum support from the American people. So those are 2 criteria. So thank you for that question, Richard. Has that answered your question, Rachel? I can't hear you. You're on mute. Rachel, have we answered your question?
Yeah, sorry, Zoom just kicked me out for a quick second. But yes, my question was answered. Thank you.
Good.
Does anybody
Rose-
do you have any other questions?
Rosemary, raise her hand, please.
My question is actually, I just have a comment. I wanted to highlight, I think that your blog articles are absolutely fascinating, and especially for this organization that you're addressing today, Mormon Women for an Ethical Government. I just wanted to call attention to the people who are on the call that I really love this topic of compassion as a catalyst. And that really fits in with the principles of peacemaking that this organization has as a foundational value. So I wanted to highlight that. And also, as I read some of them about independence to interdependence, this does not mean an end to political parties the way, I think it gets back to the roots that political parties should be a pathway for problem solving. The problem is that we've lost our way. So I applaud you for that, and I can't wait to dive deeper here in Utah, where I am. We've talked a lot about civility. That's another one of your posts, and our own governor, had this movement when he was the head of the National Governors Association on Disagree Better. And I think that he realized how very, very difficult that was. And I think anybody who watched him maneuver through it realized what a challenge it was and what skills are needed to disagree better. So I applaud you for introducing this to us. Thank you. There's just so much information here to take in. And I look forward. I see you've got another opportunity. You've got a number of different opportunities for engagement. And I think that's great. I think college campuses, and because so many college campuses have political institutes, almost all of them do. And I think that this presentation is really ripe to hit colleges all around the country who are really looking for a path forward. So thank you very much, and look forward to hearing more.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you for that comment. And seriously, I think it's important for me to build on 2 things you said on Disagree Better, that Governor Cox was part of, and political parties. So the book that Lauren Susskind and I wrote, 2008, was published in 2008. I still stand by. I think made a airtight case. And I'm borrowing a phrase from Lee Druckmann, a scholar at the New America Foundation. A 2-party system is a doomsday device. Parties, good. 2 parties, not good. 2 parties, you have a 2-party system, you are inherently creating a system that works as follows. And this phrase is in the book. You're putting 2 prize fighters in a ring. You're saying whoever knocks the other out gets $1 million. They're not going to waltz. They're going to try and knock each other out. And here we are, doomsday. 2 parties are basically existential enemies. I do not think that will end until, this is the ultimate plan, until there are some, particularly in the Senate, who say, okay, we don't want to be part of a doomsday device. We don't. We've been in it. We've tried to justify it. It can't be justified because America can see the results. And so they will stand up and say this grand bargain is a starting point for what can unite Americans together. We stand up for this grand bargain as the starting point of deliberation. It's not the basis of legislation. It's too non-specific. It's specific enough to unite the American people. It's not specific enough for us to write any start writing any legislation. And as I wrote in the book, the aspirations of the Grand Bargain Project of the Center for Collaborative Democracy is a multi-party democracy. I'm not saying tomorrow, but a two-party system. Once again, the phrase comes from Lee Erdman, who's the New America Foundation. He called it a two-party doom loop. Great phrase. It is a doom loop, and like I said, I think we're doomsday. I don't think the system can work. No matter the intentions of the people in Congress, the system forces them, if you want to win re-election, you have to engage in these tactics. These tactics are not because they're bad people. It's because a two-party system says the way to get elected is doing exactly what they're doing now. That's number one. And I invite questions about this because it's part of the overall objective. We're not political reformists. We hope this will happen of its own, of the American people taking it up. In terms of disagree better, quite a few people from the Bridging the Divides movement are advisors to us or directly here. The Bridging Divides movement needs more than just conversations. If conversations were sufficient, we wouldn't be in the state we're in now. What many of them are coming to see is that they need content, that these discussions between citizens require, let's talk about the issues that matter to us, not just about talking nicely with each other. And so we think the Grand Bargain Project is an additional element that will really empower the American people, that will draw 10 times the number of people that have been drawn to the existing, conversations that you're trying to promote.
So I do have a question about the 6 areas that you chose. Did you choose those based on like the overall most importance, or that they were the most nonpartisan type issues, or how did you choose those 6 areas?
Rachel, excellent question. Excellent question. The answer primarily is people can measure the effects in, I'll call it objective terms, much more than they can on issues like abortion, gun control, immigration, DEI. These are issues, those issues I just said are issues of identity. They're issues of what your tribe is. And tribalism is not inherently bad. Tribalism has reached toxic levels now. But people, thank you, Rosemary. And they had an election system designed to do it. That's the reason. That's what Larry, my book was about, an election system to do it. What Rosemary wrote in the chat is that New Zealand has 6 political parties. 2, and they used to have a 2-party system, and now they have 6. And they have pretty much better politics than we have for quite a bit. Okay, I'm sorry for the interruption. So the answer is you can create solutions where 90% of the American people will say yes. The issues I just mentioned, DEI, abortion, gun control, immigration, there are probably others. Immigration, by the way, immigration. There is no solution that wouldn't blow up consensus, would make consensus impossible on any one of these issues. If we included them, there would be no possibility of getting 80% of the American people to say yes. So I used the phrase, I've been told to tone it down, but they need to know the nature of the organization, ruthless pragmatism. So we are very idealistic, but we're also ruthlessly pragmatic, that talk alone is not sufficient to head off the dissolution of the American Republic. So we are ruthlessly pragmatic in terms of being compassionate with the American people and the American condition. Laura Mercer, yes, there are. The Scandinavian countries are consistently the happiest countries in the world, and consistently highest measures of these 6 issues, by the way, of social progress, whatnot. They have a lower GDP than us. And GDP is a very problematic way to measure all of society by itself. That's another problem. And I'm not the one to say that. There are plenty of economists who say this is a very bad measure. It's easily measured. Yes, Rosemary, they do. So what Rosemary put in the chat, multi-parties require coalition building. So coalition building requires several things, which we don't have here. It requires, I think, a culture, a certain culture that nurtures it, a certain commonality of values and purpose that promote coalition building. But Germany now has been a shaky democracy for a while. They have just built a coalition in response to the crisis, and it looks like it's going to work. And for most of their history since the Second World War, they have built coalitions successfully. They've done a great job. And most of Europe has, for the most part, virtually every Western European country has a multi-party system, and they're more culturally and politically cohesive than us. I'm not saying they do policies perfectly, they don't. They have a lot of the same problems. They too need a grand bargain. That doesn't mean, so you can have multi-party systems, they build coalitions, they need a larger vision. They need a system to create a larger vision. So, and Rosemary, I'd love to talk further about you. Obviously know an awful lot about these subjects that we're involved in. I'm trying, but I have answered the question about why we chose these 6 issues and why we consciously excluded others. Trying to promote consensus, not blow it up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well,
Any other hands? Any other questions? I could go on with the app. Rachel, I'll leave it to you what to do.
sure. If you want to share that, or how do we share that with our members? We have put it up.
The app is going to be, we hope to release it soon. We can't yet because we want to test it with a large audience. We actually going to conduct tests. Okay, Kim Lewis, thank you. I've had this conversation. She said, Kim just pointed out, until we get money out of politics, coalition building is going to be very hard. Well, maybe. Certainly, you have grounds for that statement. No, problem number one, the Supreme Court now, the decision of United Citizens United, we would need a constitutional amendment to overrule that. And I don't think we could get a constitutional amendment that goes 7 days of the week through Congress now. That's number one. Number two, I had this debate with lots of political scientists before Citizens United goes as follows. The North Star for every elected official is win the next election. Number one. Number two, they have all perfected the means of winning elections in this 2-party system, which is bash the other side. You give me more money, I can get more toxic filth out there, and I can get my name out there. That's what advertising dollars do. Put my name in front of people so they get the ballot box. Oh, I remember him. Check. They take the money because they don't have another constructive way to say to voters, here's my constructive agenda for your life, because voters don't have the bandwidth to go through it when they know the politician cannot deliver. So let me go through that logic again. Politician cannot deliver on any promises he makes in a 2-party system, because the problem is not about, the system is not designed to solve problems, it's designed to help incumbents with re-election. So yes, they take money because they can't win elections any other way than by getting their name out there and bashing the other side. If they had no other means to win elections, they would go for that. If their constituents can say, here's what we need with total clarity, they will have a much better way of winning elections. In a multi-party system, their voters says, here's what we want, and the guy running for office bashes the other party. We don't need you to bash the other party. We need progress here. It's a convoluted argument, but I've persuaded every political scientist I've ever spoken to. Money works in this system. Much harder time working in a policy-driven, results-driven multi-party system. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but that would make a big difference. That was a great question. For all your questions. Thank you. Anyone else, please?
Saul, I wonder if you could say more about the mechanics of how people participate. So,
Sure. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. So we have multi-levels of participation. Number one, we have a petition saying we support the process. We support the process of perfecting, refining the grand bargain based on citizen input and presenting it to political leaders and saying this is the will of the American people. Your job is to move it forward. That's just a petition. You can also sign up just for our regular newsletters. You can sign up to organize a workshop where you and whatever group you can bring, we hope they're more diverse. In person, well, we prefer online. Online, we can deliver fairly easily. Bring your colleagues, neighbors, friends, as long as they're politically diverse. They need to be somewhat politically diverse. And we will go through the act, go through the line items, have people give us their input, and then deliberate among themselves about how can we make it better. First, we start with people who are no's, that those who are yeses, in a facilitated way, try to find out what do the no's need and want. That the yeses could accept, that would get them into the whole grand bargain. And if there are no no's or the no's are converted, then there's deliberation among the whole team of what would constitute an improvement for us. We then will ask members of the workshop to spread the word about the grand bargain and the workshops themselves, because we believe this will ultimately catch on. This is what the American people want. We don't have to convince them these 6 issues are important. They know that, but no one has shown them how to make progress. So we're confident this will spread. We need and want your engagement fully in the process of refining it and helping us spread it.
And
So
let me,
building.
yeah, and
Go
so
ahead, Richard.
let me just add, maybe to Rosemary's point and other questions that have been asked is, we would be very excited to have MWEG organize a series of these online workshops, with its own members across the country. These are about 90 minutes to 2 hours. They're facilitated, they're interactive, as Saul said, and they give us important feedback. So those can be organized. We can stand one of those up, with 2 weeks notice, and then partner with you. The other thing I just wanted to quickly mention, Saul, if it's okay, is we talked about these congressional districts doing events, doing workshops in a congressional district. So Rosemary, given your political experience, maybe you could help us in some fashion in Utah in particular with thinking through how we could organize a workshop in each of Utah's congressional districts. Ideally, these would take place in person, but that may not be practical. But maybe there's a way to think strategically about who's a point person in any of the individual districts. And we do know a few members in the delegation. But anyway, I just wanted to make that offer, and maybe that's something we could collaborate on, in the coming days.
So do you see this being like a citizen-driven, initiative as
It
far
has to
as
be.
people gathering as far as that goes?
It
So
has to
once,
be.
yeah, okay.
It has to be. So we are a platform for engaging all of America. That's how we see it. This is the spark, just the 36 lines. Kim, I see your hand. I definitely want to answer your questions. You asked some good ones already. So absolutely. And like I said, our job is to spread the word. This opportunity exists. Make major progress on these 6 areas critical to your life, but have real impact. Not just talk about them, but have impact. Get the word to political leaders and unite America. Unite America wherever they are on the spectrum, however old they are, whatever they're in. Absolutely. Unite America. That is our mission. Kim.
Okay, so let me see if I understand this. So I formed a group in my county, and we have probably 110 people out of 12,000 in our county. Very small, very red North Idaho, if you know anything about North Idaho. And we are nonpartisan or bipartisan, I guess you would say. And we're just kind of collecting people who have been who feel left out of the process because everything happens in the primaries. Everything's decided in the primaries here. And so help me understand this. So we would have, what if we meet every other week? We usually have about 35 people. So we would do a workshop together in person-ish. And then they would do I guess, go through the questions on their own at home. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
No. I mean, we will consider any variation. Here's our plan. Red, Idaho, I want to do it tomorrow. We have had a hard time getting people, red, and we have struggled. And so you're a gift already. So whatever you need, we'll do it. Okay, so here's what we would propose. I would explain as I've just explained it now, and I would do it. I would lead this workshop because we want to create a prototype that we're confident we can replicate thousands of times. And we tried various variations I want to try to do. So I make the same presentation I did, pretty much what it is, why we chose these issues, take any questions. And I would say, yes, I'm from New York. I'm exactly who you think I am. Okay, I know I'm in Idaho. I know I'm a foreigner. I accept that. And I am from New York. I am white. And everything you think about me is right, except add one thing. I live to unite the American people. That's my North Star. That's what I spend every waking hour thinking about, putting all my energy into doing it. And this is so far my team's best efforts to do it. Our purpose is to improve your life, everyone in this room, in these 6 dimensions. And here's why we think this is a great starting point. Now, we want to fully engage you. Of course, you feel ignored. You not only are you the primary dispositive because a 2-party system, this is the evil of 2-party system right there, but also you are in a state, you're in a rural part of the state, and all the policymakers don't go, they talk about it, they don't do it. By the way, when we built these 36 line items, we took great pains, and Richard in particular took great pains to interview organizations that devoted to rural strategies, rural priorities. And there are several line items directed particularly at rural areas. So we would have them go through the app. They would say, and at the end, we would ask them, are you in for the total package? If you had to choose between total package or the country's current direction, which would you choose? And then the deliberations would start. Those who said no, and those who said yes, and those who had no, we would explain how they would engage. We would have facilitated negotiation. What is it that you were holding back? What is it you need? What would satisfy your needs sufficiently that the whole package would be acceptable to you? That'd be the first deliberation. That might take the whole time of the deliberative period. And I've watched this kind of thing. It's unbelievable to watch. I have never seen a group of people so animated as deliberating over the issues that are critical to their lives with people they trust. We would hope to have some resolution where it's one or more of the no's would say, yes, I buy it. And the no's were left out. We have to figure out a way how we want to keep them engaged. And after that was done, we would ask them, okay, spread the word. Everyone here, tell your friends and neighbors, and we hold another workshop. We want to create a chain reaction, forgive the negative connotation. Chain reaction, a group of 15, 20 of your members meet, then there are 3 groups of 20 that want to meet, and each one creates 20 more. That's how this is going to spread nationwide. We need you, everyone on this call, who sees the need for something like this to help us create meetings, bring people together, and spread the word so it does go nationwide. To answer your question, Richard. Kim, any questions? And you definitely need to talk to Richard, and let's arrange it as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Does that sound
Kim, the other thing I would just quickly add is, to think of this in the context of building a national movement, right? And this is a great exercise in deliberative democracy. So, there's the content that we have, and then there's the process to weigh in, as Saul has described. And there is the potential to obviously build this national movement that then influences the thinking of elected officials, right? Who we often know are not leaders as much as followers of what their constituents tell them. So I'm sorry, Kim, you were going to add something else, I think.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture this. I think our group is, you know, they want more education. They want more ways to improve the situation. But at the same time, there are many of them who are involved in small businesses who have to stay behind the scenes. They,
Right.
you know, this is a super secret group because there has already been retaliation. And so, yeah, so they're looking for education. They're looking for ways to improve the situation, and they want to do something. And
Yeah.
so that could be helpful. And we've all noticed that our personal representatives, like here in the state, and then on the federal level, they know absolutely nothing about Shoshone County. Nothing. They don't even hardly know. They hardly ever come here except if the Republican committees put together a dinner, and that's it. That's all they come here for. Yeah.
One
Yeah,
other thing.
just check me 1 second, Richard. So we cannot fix individual lawmakers. I don't want you to have any illusions about that. We can't do that. We don't have that influence. We need to get to a certain level of visibility. That's the American people need to get to a level of visibility and unity that no elected official can ignore the will of the people. The will of the people now is in 25,000 different directions. And that's why they can't ignore them. They just focus on, what do I need to win the primary? Who can I gin up in the maximum amount of anger and fear against the other side? And I win the primary. Okay, I'm home free. We can't change that unless literally lots of people like you step up and say, no, we're not good enough for this. We want to act. So we are here to help you become basically sovereign. It's become a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, which it is clearly not now. You muted, Kim, but thank you. Thank you so much just for what you've said and how you've animated us, because we are eager to participate in the kind of event you described.
Well, thank
Anyone
you.
else?
No, I don't see anything else. It was just a comment from Ashton in the chat. Just thank you for this presentation. We will share information about how, and Richard had said that he'll share some information if you're interested in hosting. This is just an opportunity that MWAG wanted to share and to introduce us that as citizens, if we want to participate, we definitely can. So we will share that information, that if you are interested in participating in hosting or organizing other kind of collectives on this information, that we can put that contact information. There's also on their website how to host a workshop. So we can put those links. They'll be on MWAG Central.
Right. And then, Rachel, I would just mention that, there's a step that could take place before the workshop. The workshop, we acknowledge is a bit of a commitment. It's a 2-hour commitment. So we are also happy to do other talks. So, I notice Ashton says, do you have specific small things we could do? So just to reiterate, we can do other talks, and condense them to, a shorter period of time if somebody wanted to host a conversation. There is the newsletter. We are also.
Let me add one thing, Richard.
Yeah.
Richard, can I add one thing?
Please.
Ashton, if you just sent the link to the website to other people, if you sent a copy of this tape to other people. So I appreciate, this is overwhelming. It is. This is so multidimensional in the complexity of the issues, of how we have such huge ambitions in the face of this mess we have in Washington and across the country. Totally the right reaction. We've been thinking about this for years. So of course, we're distilling to you all the accumulated wisdom of people like you. Like I said at the beginning, I love a hot bench because I'm learning from you. I've learned from everyone on this call. And so it is complex. And so not the selling that, but the way to start getting people involved, send them the website. That's a start. And I said, how soon, Rachel, will the tape of this be available to your members?
It'll be on our MWEG Central site, the link tomorrow morning at the latest.
So, any of you who think that would be worthwhile to share, with friends, allies, colleagues, Rachel, is it okay if they share with people who are not members of the organization?
Yep, we make it public through a YouTube link. So yes, you're welcome to share it, and just and that's how a lot of things in MWEG get shared. Is this is interesting to me? It may be interesting to you. Read about it, learn about it. And if it is interesting to those that you share it with, then of course they can participate.
Great. Good. Well, we know Emma's not here, but really appreciate Emma having connected us, and happy to follow up with anyone, personally. Let me make sure people have our emails. I'll put those in here in the chat.
And I want to add, this is, I live for moments like this. I live for moments of connecting with other hearts and minds. I mean it. That's what I'm here to do, to try and do my part to build a national community. And literally, I live for events like this live. Yeah, I have to write. That's part of my job. And I do it with full heart, but it's nothing like this. This are the moments I live for, starting to spread the word and having you come back with questions and trying to engage with us. So thank you, Rachel. Thank all of you. I really, really appreciate it personally.
No, we're so glad. When Emma shared it with us as a possibility of doing the Grow Today, she had mentioned that that you guys had worked with the Building Civic Bridges Act, which we've done a Grow about that. So if you're not familiar with that, I would recommend anybody that's watching now to go back and watch the recording to learn about that. But this is such a nonpartisan issue. A lot of those 6 things that you guys are focusing on are things that should be important to everybody, and we all want a more cohesive government of working across lines and of better participation that, like you said, is for the people, right? So this is great. Yes, we will share more information about that, and in the chat, Richard put their emails, so you're welcome to grab those, and I'll put those.
Right, and I'm sorry I put Saul's wrong email address, so don't sign off.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Good, and yeah. Okay, so bear with me one second here while
you're going to fix that one. Yeah, and I'll leave that in the comments on MWEG Central as well. So
great, thank you.
But if there's not any other questions, then thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you learned, and we hope that you'll join us next week. If you're coming back to the Grow for next week, we're going to be talking about the Washington, D.C. event, the Quilt-In, that is happening next Tuesday. So we hope that if you can't participate and be there, that you'll tune into the Grow to hear how quilt delivery went and just kind of the experience of some of those that were there in person. So we hope to see you guys next time. But thank you to Richard and Saul and Grand Bargain Project for being here today. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon.